Hi guys, welcome. Today I'm going to be speaking a bit about visual diaries in school specifically, or art journal, process diary. There's process diaries. There's a lot of names, people know them by. I did a CAPS curriculum at Global Leadership Academy in J Bay, South Africa, and I kind of hacked the system and I got 100% for most of my diaries because I followed a marking rubric that our teachers gave to us. Everyone receives them, but knowing how to use them is very important because you can get all the materials, all the resources, but if you don't know how to apply it, you're not going to get those high marks. So I'm just going to show you basically one of my visual diaries, and yeah, just to skim through, just to see what you're getting into if you're taking art as a subject and you're not so sure if it's the right thing for you. But basically you get one PAT topic, practical assessment task per term. And with that, you have to do a process diary and a final. So your process diary is your research for your final. Every thought you have about that final goes into your diary. A lot of people, they don't really know what to put into it. So that's where I find the marking rubric really helps, because it'll just act as a guideline like, hey, does this thing actually relate to the project? No, it doesn't, throw it out. So anything that kind of, aids in your process of figuring out what to put in the final does really help to put in. What I'd recommend is doing a cover page like I did, just to make it look pretty. At the end of the year, you usually do an art exhibition, so you want it to look pretty for the crowds. Then what you do is you get your PAT topic, you got to paste it in here with the marking rubric. I will be posting this in the description below, so please check it out. But yes, this is my term separator or divider. A lot of people do 2 PATs per topic, which isn't recommended for me because I find I run out of space very quickly, but it's a personal preference. Okay, and then this is my general brainstorming. So you see very clearly, I can see there's a topic here. And then I'm going more into depth of how I'm developing this idea of light. I'm looking up definitions, I'm looking up reference photos that kind of inspire me in a way, and I'm doing splabs and stuff, just letting my mind ramble. And I also did a little a medium and technique experimentation in class. She did an exercise with us, my art teacher, and it was like a continuous line drawing, and you can see I'm taking this idea and I'm putting it into these little figures at the bottom here. So you see it's visually, there's almost like a storyline, and you can see my process happening. And then what I did is I found some photos on my phone that I took of my brother a while back, and I put them in here because I realized I'm actually going to be studying figures in water, so I'm actually going to try draw them. And I did a whole page of these little guys, and they turned out amazing. So I'm like, hey, I'm actually going to try develop this idea. But you can already see, even through my writing, if you look a little bit closer, you can see I'm taking that theme of light and I'm looking through it how it affects water. And then you also need to do 4 ideas to get those marks. So this is my second idea. It helps putting the headings down so the marker knows what you're putting in and what's right and wrong. There's no wrong in a visual diary, but there is some things that will just dip your mark almost in the marker's eyes. And then you see so I have my reference photos, and at this point they're not in detail. This is just to get my ideas down, because this will take you 2 weeks mainly, just doing half an hour a day. So it's important to just jot down ideas, because otherwise I get hung up this for a month and then the date's cut off by then. There's my third idea. You can see the light in someone's eyes. Then I also keep my friends and how happy they are. So still developing that idea. Not too sure on that first idea of how to light and water, so I'm making sure that I'm 100% sure that is the topic that I'm going with before I continue researching it. So then I decided on it, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go into figures and water. And then I did my medium and experimentation with ink and water, and then I recorded it. I recorded it to see how beautiful the medium looks. And then I pasted it in here so that the markers could see this is what I'm thinking, and this is what I'm putting down, and this is what I'm experimenting with. And then I did a bunch of figure studies. I carry sometimes when I'm traveling a little book on me, and then what I do is if it relates to the project, if it's say I'm drawing flowers for my final and I draw a flower in my diary, my little diary, I'll paste it in here, and then you have content for your work, which is really important. And then also from your theory work that you do, you can find artist inspiration, which you do have to have in your diary. So you're basically drawing from their style. So let's say Yayoi Kusama, she loves drawing dots figures. So what I did in one of my finals was I took from her inspiration, and I did like polka dots in my background. So you can take from this artist and how they inspire you. But for Egon Schiele, I don't know how to pronounce his name. He was with Gustav Klimt. I took his figures and how beautiful they looked with their muscles and stuff, like very exaggerated and distorted. So like, yeah, your theory work really does help you. So you see there's his work, and then below that you can see I drew inspiration from his forms and muscle figures and heavy lines. So you can see that very clearly. And then I did muscle studies because I realized I don't know how muscles actually work on the body. So there's a lot of process work in here towards my final. Yeah, and then more experimentation with research and inspiration using gouache. So I wouldn't have been able to do this if it wasn't, like the final wouldn't have looked as good if I didn't experiment with gouache. Because watercolor and ink didn't look as amazing as gouache did. It didn't have as much solidity. So I find that experimenting in the diary really helped me figure out my final. And then I did more research through a video on Gustav Klimt, and then I found like I really liked his cold accents, so I decided to take Posca in. I didn't end up using it in the end, but it's still part of my process that was really important. And then I took another artist inspiration, Keller Gloops. So it's important to put the titles in, remember that, just so that they know who you're drawing inspiration from. And then I take his artworks and then I say, okay, I like the circles, so I draw the circles here to visually say I'm taking the circles, and then I put it in a final of my own. And then what I did next was you can put in quotes and inspiration that really strikes with you. So I did more art for art's sake in this final, so just to make it look pretty. So as you can see, the quote by Augusta Renoir, it really resonates with me. So I find I kind of stick to it now, even just to make art look beautiful. It's kind of like key in life almost. Then you do compositional studies. This is all in the rubric, don't worry, I'll post it in the description below. Compositional studies for your final, just to make sure you're 100% sure that this is going to look amazing when it's done, and that I'm not doing like a really weird composition by the end of it that just kind of just looks horrible together. So I did a photo shoot. You have to have your own final reference photos, because then the markers are really impressed with that, and then they'll be like, hey, she has like really original ideas, where did she get those from? So, oh, I actually did them myself, thank you very much. So you see, I did like a whole photo shoot on my bed, and then I I just exported all of them to my diary and then pasted them in, and then that's like a whole page. But you gotta remember, whatever you post in here, you have to draw. So that's my whole figure drawings on the sides. Yeah, so whatever you paste in here, just remember to draw. Even if it's a little scamp, it's still trying. And then I did more medium and experimentation because I wasn't so sure if I wanted, a blue or an orange figure. And I find I went with the blue because this orange was way too contrasting for me. Like, I like the idea, but with the blue, I had a lot more freedom almost. I wouldn't have known that if I didn't do my process diary. And then I did color scans to see that, just to make sure I was 100% with the blue. I was like, okay, blue and orange didn't work, blue and yellow didn't work, blue and red, no. Yeah, that didn't work either. Just those two were just no for me. So I went with the final in blue on blue, and that was just like such a breakthrough for me because I'm like, yes, I finally got this color scheme, which I wouldn't have done in my final because you only have like 24 hours to do the final, which sounds like a lot of time, but when you're sitting in that exam venue, it's not enough, it's never enough. And then you have to dissect your background themes. And this is more like writing. They'll give you extra marks for this, like they'll actually go read through this at the end because they see your whole visual diary, how impressive it is, and like, hey, let's just like see if she has background themes in here, and then you go write. So I was like doing celebration of the human form and how beautiful we look, and more just celebrating humans in general, like, and how aesthetically pleasing we've become with the whole body conscious movements and stuff. So I found it was like very beautiful to just like reflect on that almost through writing. So it does help, you can put that in as well. And then you have your intention as well. Usually you're supposed to put this in the beginning, but by the end I would have figured it out more specifically, because if I put it in the beginning there's not a lot of freedom. So I always put it in the end just to make sure, okay, I've done all the research, I've done all the experimentation, this is what my final intention behind the artwork is, this is my deepest meaning of it, to like a very baseline almost. So there's background themes and intention, which you can put in. I think it's 5 marks for intention, and then background themes, not really, but yeah, anyway. Alright, and then you need to do tonal steady drawings, a lot of those, to see how the light will look on the final. I never use it really. I never focus on tonal drawing specifically. I focus more on form and line. But it does help, like getting an understanding of, oh, light's coming through there, not there, why is it reflecting like that, kind of thing. I find it helps doing these in very contrasting, like high contrasting tones. So that's why I thought pencil or graphite would be really good. And then yeah, they're quite nude figures, but I really loved how they turned out. So you can see, like, I'm just experimenting with light and how it falls on the figures. And then yeah, so this, you have to do a final A3 drawing, and I didn't go into detail. I was running out of time, but I just told my teacher I can't go into detail, these figures are going to take me a month to draw, so she was okay with it. So it really depends on your artwork, but you do always have to do an A2 drawing of your final, or just one page, just so they know what you're going to draw, and also for you to reference, because I find I got kind of confused with the figures. So I could see how they were placed next to each other, which was very helpful. And then this was my final color mock-up, because I didn't go into much detail on that little one, so I decided to do a color mock-up just to make it clear that this is what I'm doing. And then I did, yeah, these are my final reference images. And then you gotta put in who you're drawing inspiration from, because you can't, there's a lot of copyright laws, so you're not allowed to just put in your diary any artwork that you want. Just acknowledge them, like write down their name, the title of their artwork, and the date it was created. Oh, and then I just have to remind you, leave out 2 blank pages in the beginning of your diary for the table of contents. So I put this at the back of the book, which is wrong. I know, but like I never know what I'm going to put in. So this, I would have actually left out 2 blank pages here in the beginning. And then, so I'd have my section break for the term patch. So this would be term 1. And then behind that, I would actually have the table of context. But I liked having the brainstorming on 2 pages, so I never did do that. I need to focus on it though. Keep in mind like the layout of your book and how it looks. So you see, like in the brainstorming section, I wanted 2 pages, so I couldn't do the table of contents on 1 page, and then on the next page just do like 1 page of brainstorming, and on the next page another broken up page of brainstorming. So it does help, just plan it to 2 pages per thing. So brainstorming 2 pages, artist inspiration 2 pages, so you can visually say this is how I'm drawing inspiration out of it and putting it into your final that you mocked up. Yeah, so there's the one. Hi guys, sorry about that. My card filled up. I had to quickly change it out. But yeah, as you can see, the process diary, there's a lot of thought that goes into it, and you do have to put at least half an hour aside a day, which is recommended, but I did it within the last 3 weeks, 2 weeks even. It does depend on your medium. If you're doing acrylic, it's going to take a lot longer, so be prepared for that. If you did ink like me, this one took me about 2 weeks to do. In total, so that's just working straight. So I would recommend putting half an hour aside in the day, especially in the beginning, just to get those initial stages done, where you got your 4 ideas you got to get through. And yeah, just to brainstorm through those will be really helpful. Otherwise, you can keep a small one. This is my process diary for all of my free art. So I love my diaries. As you can see, I do really well with them because there's a checklist and it really helps me with experimentation. But I've also, you see, I've got my research and my planning for the finals. Yeah, you see I have some actual final things and process photos. Oh, another thing they don't tell you, you got to put your process photos of your final in it to get those extra marks. It's just to show that you're engaging and then it's your work you're actually selling basically at the end. So yeah, so you see process photos, I wrote out what I did in here, and then this is the final. So that helps as well. It's also kind of like almost an insurance thing, just to make sure it doesn't get damaged, and if it is, you can go back to your diary and say, hey, this is what the final looked like. Okay, see another final piece, some experimentation for a final background. So you can apply this in everyday life, and also you see research on faces. So it's really good to keep one of these handy because this is a lot. This is artist inspiration from a was it not Aztec? Yeah, from Turkey, traditional arts in Turkey. So you see, it does help a lot personally developing your art, because you get to work a lot on the process to your final. Now, that really helps if you're indecisive and you're not so sure which idea to pick. So you can experiment in your diaries. And you see here as well, like there are a bunch of figures that I drew. Just scamps of the final. It really does help. And yeah, little color charts for me deciding on the color composition. Research on Fauvism, which you'll be introduced to in grade 11 in the CAPS curriculum. So you see, you take inspiration from Fauvism and then you apply it to your final. And then also I found this really sick color theory thing on Instagram that's been trending recently, which really helps. So anything I find that'll help further my artwork, I paste in my process book. And then I can access that at any point to help improve my future things. And I can look at my reflective reports that you're supposed to do at the end of your process diaries, and then I can see, oh, this is what I need to actually focus on next time. So it's very reflective. It's very entertaining to look back on your process diaries and see how far you've come, especially with developing ideas, I find. But anyway, point aside, I wanted to show you my final for this diary that you saw now. It's one of my favorite because the process was very experimental with mediums. So I finally decided to do it in ink and gouache with like hints of gold from Gustav Klimt's inspiration. So it turned out really beautiful because I got to experiment with blues and stuff. So it created like a very somber atmosphere and very like melancholic almost. But I really loved, I just love my blues. So I just wanted to show you how important it is to do your process diary, because it wouldn't have turned out like this if I hadn't gone through this absolute slap of a diary to like reap the benefits from this. Let me just show you. It's massive. I think this thing is, it's A1, but then it's framed to like an A0. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, here it is. All these figures I did this over 3 months. No, not 3 months, sorry. It was a month, or over one of the not December holidays, one of the term holidays. I'll try to come up closer. As you can see, there's a lot of detail that's gone into the figures, muscle compositions. I think this one right here in the middle is my favorite, just because you got to see like how detailed her form is. But yeah, so very proud of this one. As you can see, this final idea is stunning because I've done all of that research for it. I now know that, you know, the blues go well together, not the orange and the blue as I thought because it's contrasting colors. But because I was able to experiment with that, I got to decide which one was best. So it is very important to focus on your process diary because it's 50% of your term mark. But don't let that take away from your final. So make sure whatever you're doing in your process diary, it's adding to your final. Don't get sidetracked and create little final works within your diary. Just rather focus on the bigger picture. I will go into more detail in other videos about, how to kind of start, almost, the starting steps. I'll show my grade 10 works, my first visual diaries. That's going to be very painful for me. But yeah, you'll just see like how not to do it basically, just so you don't have to struggle through that like I did. And then yeah, I'll be posting the what's that thing called? The marking rubric, I think, in the description down below. So check it out. I figure out how to do that first. This is my first video, so yeah, please just like, support me in any way possible. Share it with your mates. I find it's really helpful to just, have this conversation about the CAPS curriculum or IB curriculum in South Africa, because I couldn't find any content about it on YouTube. So let me know if this does help you, and I'm open to recommendations in the comments down below. This is more me just sharing my artwork with the world, so if there's any questions at all, I'm more than happy to answer. And I will be going, I think my next video I should do like a comparison of all my diaries, so stick around for that. Or I could also, I will also be telling you how to study for art and how to dissect artworks, just for study tips for the CAPS curriculum specifically, because lots of people struggle with studying. It's the easy part, but you don't actually study for art. You've got to know how to apply your theory in art. So I find that's very hard, but I also hack the system for that. So I'll be doing it, it's a CAPS curriculum, but I'm sure it can be applied to all art curriculums across the globe. So yeah, stick around for that. And guys, thank you so much for your time. And yeah, check you later.